Hello everyone, as I'm continuing this month's October horror movie reviews, I am once again joined by my father.
Hello.
In today's video, we are going back as far as 1932, talking about an old vampire film that either you may or may not have heard of called Vampyr, directed by Carl Dreyer, right?
Right.
Right. They say this was considered like, well, maybe not the first vampire film, but one of the first like early talkie vampire films, despite that Dracula came out the year before, but I feel like that's debatable because there was some there was like some like moments of like silence in the film.
Yeah, there was.
Right. So
you could tell it was a early sound film.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
especially at the time like when the silent era was coming to an end. Sound films were still like new, and they were still trying to figure out the techniques and the equipment of how to use sound in films at that time. It was still like, I guess you could say that at that time, like, you could say, yeah, it's somewhat like a flaw because of how it wasn't perfected yet at that time. So it was just a beginning of sound film.
Right.
You can't technically like blame like who's like fault it is. It's just one of those things where it started out this way, then slowly got better and better as they figured out, okay, this is how we do better in sound technician films.
Mm-hmm.
No boom operators yet at that time either.
No.
Anyway, so what do you think of Vampyr?
I liked it a lot because it had some very eerie sequences. It was very disturbing.
Right.
I think one of the best sequences was when it shows how he gets put in a coffin.
Yeah.
And gets buried alive.
Yeah.
That was a very well done, especially when he used the point of view of the person that was in the casket.
Right.
There was a window looking out into the open, and you could see the people that were looking in at him and getting ready to carry him.
Right. I mean, I liked it, but it's a little confusing to like understand like the whole premise and the whole like story of this film, because it was made back in the 30s, and also how like this is a film you have to like really like pay attention to and really like try to analyze to see like what it's trying to tell you. Like that character, do you remember what that character's name was at the opening scene who came in that into that house village?
No, I don't remember his name.
Well, I'll put that as I edit in. The main character, who was the hero of the film, I feel like his character was like, he was like, coming out for like, I don't really know, but they don't really explain like why he, like what he was doing, like why he was traveling. It's like he was traveling on a trip, and then all of a sudden like this event happens like out of no, he didn't like it was like one of those things that happened to him for like no reason. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with keeping it mysterious.
Yeah.
And the more unknown about it, the more unsettling it is.
Right. Well, I remember the first time I saw this, I didn't like know. It's sort of like you think that it's a film like where you saw it once before, you didn't get it, then maybe you thought the second viewing you might understand, appreciate it, but having like rewatched it, my opinions of it have like remained the same. Like I still don't know like what to make of this after even on a second viewing.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that happens, I thought was interesting, was the relationship between him and the woman.
Yeah.
And how that plays out. And they use a river as a symbol for the afterlife.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like in the ancient Roman and Greek mythology, the river Styx, which leads across from the real world into the netherworld.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of cryptic symbols that he used, which again adds to the mysterious part of it.
Yeah.
It's certainly a film of its time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have the same impact as a lot of subsequent movies do.
Right.
There's less of a linear storyline like there is with Dracula.
Right.
And the Universal monsters.
Yeah.
Or even with other silent films, like Phantom of the Opera or Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Which also makes it a little bit difficult to decipher.
Right. The one thing I found like interesting though is like how like watching this film is that it was interesting that it wasn't necessarily like you said like in Dracula, it wasn't like a vampire that was killing them. It was more like it was death that was killing them. Death was the I guess you could say the enemy if you want to point it that way, I guess.
Yeah, and it really wasn't vampire in the traditional sense,
Right.
where
Blood-sucking vampires.
exactly.
Yeah, because it makes me think, because not to get off topic, like, you've heard of the Final Destination, have you ever seen them, or you're familiar
No.
with the concept, though?
No.
Not to get off topic here, because it's like, I thought of it this way, it's like, because I'm not a fan of the Final Destination movies, sorry to say that, everybody, because I always, like, fantasize, like, this is, like, something like this could have been a good idea for, like, a concept of how, like, we can't beat death. You know, like, done, like, in, like, a, medieval time, like dark gothic atmosphere, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's how, like, they should have done Final Destination movies in that, like, format better than what they did in the 2000s.
Okay, well, I'm not familiar with it.
Well, okay, well, you get the idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm saying this is like an example of how I visualize of what a Final Destination should have been like, set in like a different, like a medieval time setting where, you know, like death is like upon them and they fear death.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like some stupid teen slasher flick is what I mean.
Right.
Anyway,
mm-hmm.
Also, the other thing, too, I found interesting is when, like, he goes to, like, the medical journal of, like, trying to figure out, like, what is going on and how do I, like, that was, like, in a way, like, if he was he was basically the Van Helsing and the, what was it Jonathan and Dracula, right? The fiance and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically both the Van Helsing and the Jonathan of the Dracula, where he's discovering about how do we, like, stop, like, the vampires from killing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other thoughts you have about the movie that come to mind, or?
No, you know, it's basically it's not the most accessible movie,
Right.
and but it should be taken in the context of when it was made,
Right.
And like I said, the sequence that I thought that was pretty chilling was when he's being carried off inside the coffin.
Right.
And the point of view shots from inside looking out, you know, to the people that are visible through the window of the coffin.
Yeah.
I thought that was, for me, that was probably the most effective part of it.
Yeah. I know when this movie came out, it actually didn't do very well, despite how the director, Carl Dreyer, had some success at that time in, like, you know, the early silent films, and this was like one of his failures at the time.
Yeah.
And for what I've heard and read, that he actually was very upset and disappointed when this film didn't do so well. But, you know, despite this film is, I would say, somewhat of a classic today, but I don't know if, like, people would have would understand and appreciate, have, like, the right mindset of, like, watching this film, not knowing, like, what to expect from it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's not the type of film that's going to be exciting in the sense that it's not very fast moving.
No.
It is very
slow paced.
Yes. But it's also has some interesting images.
That's like, I think the best part of this film is, like, its images. Like, I like that opening shot of the person walking by the river and has that the Sith by on their side, and that's like you said, it's a symbol of death in a way.
It is. That symbolizes death.
Yes.
So you know, those types of things where, you know, people like that come out of nowhere with no explanation.
Right.
You know, that adds to the mystery of it.
I feel like there's, like, more to, like, this film with, like, its visual shots and its point of views, but maybe it's something where I need to, like, look more into it to understand, appreciate that, I guess, you know, like, yeah. So I guess that's about, like, wraps up everything we've talked about.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, that was our review of Vampyr. Like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, get the latest updates on my YouTube channel, and stay tuned tomorrow for another horror movie review. Say bye, Dad.
Take care.